Anyone who is familiar with translation or with the study of languages knows that language and culture are inseparable. One implies the other while expressing any word, concept, or thought. This dissertation aims at highlighting the strength of this bond and the importance of the role of the translator who is able to grasp the deepest meaning of a language. I have chosen to show the indissolubility of the relationship between language and culture through untranslatability, a phenomenon which concerns all the languages in the world and intrigues all those who are passionate about languages and their labyrinths. The concept of untranslatability implies not only the denotative aspect, but also the philosophical and cultural level linked to the meaning of a word. It is often possible, through different methods, to seemingly provide the correspondent of a certain word in another language, but it is not always possible to convey the same concept. This creates a sense of detachment in the reader, linked to the impossibility of fully understanding the atmosphere and the effect of the original text. This is because faithful translation has its limits. It is therefore essential to accept the imperfection of translation and to take up the greatest challenge presented by this discipline, negotiation, which makes it possible to find the most appropriate solution according to the context taken into consideration. In concrete terms, some examples of untranslatability can be words related to cultural elements typical of a specific ethnic group. These elements derive from the historical, political, and social events that have shaped that culture, such as the Japanese term wabi-sabi, which embodies a Japanese worldview centered around the presence of beauty in imperfection and the acceptance of the transience of life. Other examples are words related to the gastronomic sphere or to culinary customs, such as the Gaelic noun sgriab, meaning the feeling of itchiness on the upper lip just before taking a sip of whiskey. There are also terms related to religion and beliefs, or elements related to some peculiarities of the territory, such as the word hanyauku, which, in the Afrikaans language, designates the act of walking on tiptoes across warm sand. An expression can also be untranslatable if it is based on a play on words, that is, on the syntax, phonetics, or homographs of one specific language. Moreover, idiomatic expressions are far from being universal, in terms of form rather than meaning. Finally, there is poetry, whose sounds are of key importance, perhaps more so than the content itself. Over the years, a number of alternative techniques to translation have been developed in an attempt to convey the meaning of untranslatable words and expressions, such as the phenomena of loans and calques, which are widely present in all the languages of the world, but which are not effective enough when it comes to conveying meanings that are sometimes incompatible with other languages. The techniques of parasynonymy and intersemiotic translation have also been taken into account, in particular the use of images, which may prove useful for the understanding of certain abstract concepts, but which become inefficient if not accompanied by verbal explanation. In the light of the considerations made, the imperfection of the translation process and the limits of faithful translation have emerged, since translating does not simply mean turning a text from one system of symbols to another, but mediating between two different cultures. Translators must therefore make a series of choices which lead them to give up certain elements in order to preserve others. As Primo Levi says, experience taught me that translation and compromise are synonymous. A translator, thanks to culture, creativity, empathy, and profoundness, is able to grasp the subtlest nuances of a language. Precisely for this reason, for now, neural machine translation and new technologies cannot make the translator's work superfluous. With this dissertation, I wanted to convey my passion for translation, a science, but at the same time an art, and above all, the beauty of untranslatability. Untranslatable words and expressions reveal the true essence of a people, and rather than linguistic gaps, I consider them to be a source of enrichment, because if my language does not have the right term to describe the state of mind I feel at a given moment, I am sure that somewhere in the world, in some other language, there will be a way to express it.